Types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back. Welcome in. I apologize for the inconvenience. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White, alongside Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Of course, full day of action here. Ryan McCormick working hard to get you ready for Punchlines coming at noon, as always, Monday through Friday here on the network. All right, to the association. I just want to go back, just in case you didn't hear what we had to say on the Knicks and the Pacers last night. Alex, Indiana can be had at plus 310 behind us to win the series against the Knicks now. Last night was dead even. Questionable calls, to say the very least. Helped New York out in that one. Plus 310 is too good of a price to pass for me. Now, am I saying that the Knicks are going to lose the series? No. I still think what I said last week, once we knew the matchup, 7 games, 7 home team wins. I think that's still the most logical scenario here. But plus 310 on Indiana is very much too high to pass up here.
I agree. And the biggest concern with the Knicks is definitely their depth. And that has been a concern throughout the season and even in that first playoff series. Now, they are very good at closing out games. And yes, we had some calls at the end there, but you have to give credit to those Villanova guys. I mean, they really stepped up at the end there, and they did that throughout the entire Sixers series as well. But on the other side, looking at the Pacers, I think they were the better team for majority of that game. We didn't even get the best of Halliburton yet, so I do think that they definitely have a shot to win this series, and plus 310 is a great number.
There is a question mark of what are you getting out of Tyrese Halliburton since that injury hasn't been the same guy scoring the basketball over the last few months. But again, Indiana, 5-point underdogs in game 2 tomorrow night, plus 310 behind us if you want to bet it right now. And then the other one, the jarring result. No Rudy Gobert, no problem. The T-Wolves go to Denver, win both last night in just behind-whipping fashion, to put it in politer terms. 106-80. Wasn't really even that competitive. The Wolves are now minus 650 to knock out the defending champs. They're 4.5-point favorites in game 3. Jamal Murray threw a heating pad on the court in the middle of the game. Alex, I'm floored by what has happened so far. Look, it was one thing. All right, they stole game 1. Anthony Edwards was the best player to 4. Okay, what happened last night's a whole different animal. That was a destruction on Denver's home court in a game Denver really needed to have. Alex, this series is over. Barring some flip in the switch from Denver, which I don't know if they have. They had it last year. They flipped the switch whenever they wanted. I don't know if that switch is flippable this year, especially with what we've seen out of Minnesota. Here the Timberwolves finish this thing off, make it 3-0, win game 3, finish it off in game 4, sweep this thing, don't even go back to Ball Arena. I think the T-Wolves are winning this thing, and it's going to be very interesting to see, assuming Minnesota doesn't choke this series away, how is a series against whoever comes out of OKC and Dallas, how is that priced? Because right now the T-Wolves are the favorites to win the Western Conference, but that's, of course, because they have a 2-0 lead on Denver, and the other series hasn't even started yet.
Correct, and they should be the favorite here. Their defense is phenomenal. I mean, this is very impressive what we are seeing here. We thought it was more about the Suns, but it's clearly not. This team is for real. They look fantastic. Nuggets had 11 turnovers in the first half, and then the Timberwolves outscored them 33-15 in that second quarter. That game was over by halftime. As you mentioned, the final score, 106-80, doesn't even really tell you how much of a blowout it was. So I do like the Timberwolves to finish the job. I think the Nuggets will steal one in Minnesota, either 3 or 4. I mean, it's got to be 3, right? If you don't win 3, then you could see them just giving up by game 4. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see what adjustments they make. But I will say Jamal Murray just had a rough night. I mean, no shots were going in for him. So I think as long as he has a better game here, they can steal at least one game.
It's been 2 bad games in this series for Murray, who's clearly impacted by that injury he suffered in the Lakers series. Got away with it against the Lakers. This ain't the Lakers, though, with Minnesota. Not an odd sentence I just uttered, but it's true. I mean, the Timberwolves defense is just so good. And last night, it didn't matter that the most likely defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, wasn't even there, and it was still an absolute beatdown in that one last night. The only other thing that happened last night of note in these playoffs, Boston, the Bruins, go on the road and destroy Florida. Look, it's a combination of a good Swayman and a mediocre Bobrovsky. And
great Swayman.
I've been waiting for this version of Bobrovsky as well. But Swayman was outstanding in the Bruins, who survived on Saturday against Toronto in overtime. Take a 1-0 lead over Florida in that best of 7.
It'll be interesting to see if the same thing kind of plays out with Dallas and Colorado. So in my mind, I was thinking that Boston might be a little tired after that long 7-game series against the Maple Leafs. But on the flip side, maybe Florida had too much time off, and we're going to see that same matchup in the heavyweight Western Conference tonight with Colorado and the Stars.
Well, we'll get to that in a little bit because we got to go to the association first for tonight. 2 games. Let's start in Boston. It's the one that's lower on your rotation numbers, but it's the first game of the night tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time in Beantown. The Celtics, big favorites, 12.5-point favorites tonight, 211 the total. Alex, we talked about it a little bit ago. Boston is as high as minus 2,500 at some shops. Behind us is the best price on a series price in the city, at minus 1,600. Barring injury, I don't see how Cleveland gets more than 1 in this series. That was a very mediocre performance in round 1. Yes, they won it. Credit to them. It's their first series win without LeBron James on the roster since 1993. So we're going back a ways. But you tanked the last game of the season to get that matchup. And quite frankly, Orlando had you beat in game 7 before they melted completely. I don't want anything to do with game 1. But I know minus 1,600. It's not for the faint of heart to lay prices. I think that price is quite good on Boston. I just don't see, unless if there's a big injury in this series, I don't see how Cleveland gets more than a game. I think the Celtics roll them in this series. Minus 1,600, I think, is a pretty reasonable price, all things considered.
And the way I see it, Boston already laid an egg in game 2 against Miami. I think that they're going to come out hot and be ready for this matchup with Cleveland. They're also have to be thinking, okay, that Knicks-Pacers series is probably going the distance. So they want to get the job done as fast as they can here. Try and beat the Cavs in 4, maybe 5 games. But I am shocked with the total move because it has gone up a little bit here, 109 to 111. And I don't really see how we're going to get that many points between these teams. Boston is the second best defense in the league, and Cleveland, known for their defense, 7th best. There is one play I like in this one, Jeff, and it is on the South Point prop sheet here.
Go for it.
Total points scored in the first half by the Cavs. I am going under that 49.5. Cleveland is the 25th team in the league in second quarter points, averaging 27.4. And then in the 2 of 3 games in Boston, we had the Celtics hold Miami to 45 in game 1 and 46 in game 5. So I like that, staying under that total for Cavs in the first half. But if you like the Celtics in this one, I can't really blame you. 12.5 is a big number here. Maybe you want to look at 7 in that first half.
Boston in round 1. One game 1 by 20, one game 3 by 20, one game 4 by 14, and then one by 18 plus 16 is 34 in game number 5. The only game they lost in that series was an aberration 3-point shooting effort by Miami. Cleveland's offense, even without Jimmy Butler for Miami, Cleveland's offense is not as good as Miami's, and it's very one-player centric. Donovan Mitchell, as we saw in Orlando, Mitchell could score 50 and they still could lose by 10. So I wouldn't be shocked if Boston covers this number. I do like that first half number a little bit better. I'm with you on that if you're looking for an angle for tonight's game.
I do have to bring up the Cavs have played them very well this year. They are 2-0-1, depending on what number you got in one of those games, but 2-0-1 against the spread. So they kept it fairly close. Celtics won 120 to 113 at home the first game, 116 to 107 the second game. So there's the one that was a little bit, you either pushed or you lost. And then Cleveland did win the last game against them, 105 to 104. And that, of course, was when the Kelsey brothers were there, and Ryan McCormick and Frank, they did a whole thing on Punchlines talking about the Kelsey brothers. I think they were getting a bobblehead that night.
That was the fiasco fourth quarter by Boston that night. Outscored by 17, blowing a 16-point lead going to the fourth, where the Cavs won. As we're learning pretty quickly, at least in some of these matchups, some of these numbers from the regular season do play. I don't think this one plays, personally. Now, again, Cleveland could go 4-0 against a number in this series and get swept, as we know. So, spread-wise, it could be a different-looking series. Maybe it is a competitive 4-game sweep or a 5-game series where Cleveland is 4-1 against the number, but has no shot of winning. Wouldn't shock me if that ends up playing out as well. Now for something more intriguing. Oklahoma City hosting Dallas tonight. Alex, this is a really, of all these series, this is the one I again, read Denver and Minnesota wrong. I can already say I did. The Knick and Pacers series, I think, is destined for greatness and a long series. Celtics, I think, are destined to hammer Cleveland. This series, I have no clue. I have no real clue going into the series what will happen here. With Oklahoma City 3.5-point favorites tonight with a total of 218. The Thunder are a minus 125 favorite behind us. The best price in the city available at the moment on Dallas at plus 105 behind us. You can get better prices on OKC at minus 120 at other books. But, Alex, I just don't know what to do with this series, where Oklahoma City, this young, exuberant team with a young, budding superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and a roster that is the youngest team ever to sweep a round 1 series and get the 1 seed, as we've talked about, taking on a team where Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving were both great in round 1 against the Clippers. And it's the dichotomy, and it's weird to say Luka's, quote-unquote, the veteran of the mix since he's still only 25 years old, but Luka's been here. Luka's been in the Western Conference Finals. Kyrie Irving has won championship in this league, as we know. So the experience angle is squarely for Dallas. This is a fascinating series, Alex. I'm curious your thoughts before we look at game 1 tonight.
Well, I'm with you. I'm not going to make a pregame bet on the side here because it is really tough. So Dallas's side, as you mentioned, I mean, they looked really good in round 1. And in the last 20 games, I mean, they had one of the best defensive ratings. So they really flipped the switch. They were, of course, playing for a seeding down the stretch, and they made improvements there. And we've seen that carry over into the playoffs. On the flip side, with the Thunder here, I mean, they have the better stats in almost every category over Dallas. Now, if you go back and look at them in the regular season, which you can give me your opinion on how much we're going to take from this, but OKC 3-1 against Dallas this year. Now, that one game they lost was the only game that we had Luka and Kyrie playing, and that was a very big win by the Mavs, 146-111. So if we can get that type of performance, then I think that Dallas can win this series. Now, what else plays a part in this is Thunder does start. They have the home court starting this series, so I think that'll play a factor in this as well.
So I'm actually more inclined to look at game one than I am to look at this series. The series price, I want nothing to do with this. If you told me Dallas 1-6, wouldn't shock me. If you told me Oklahoma City 1-5, wouldn't shock me. I think the wide range of variance in this series makes this an impossible series play. But for game one, I do like the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. I do like the Thunder. I am hopeful. We saw some opening threes in this game. I am hopeful this comes back to 3 at some point, and that's when we'll take it with OKC and lay the shorter number. I also think, I know that the Knicks and the Pacer game was a super duper over last night. We're really betting this total up 4 points? 214.5 to 218.5? I think you see how far this goes and then come under. I think this is probably a good under game as well. I mean, a 4-point move is aggressive. I know these numbers have been up for 3 days, but that feels like a steep climb, and more so just off of the fact that it's a game one more than a deeper into the series. If we get to 3, I'll be on the Thunder, and I do like this under at the current number. Maybe even get to 219.5. Wouldn't shock me with the way the market's played it.
See, and my thought process was the other way. Game one, maybe we see a little bit less defense. They shoot very well against each other. OKC 5th in pace in the league, and Dallas is 7th. Both of them like to play fast. In their 4 games, we saw a total of 221, 245, 257, and 246. I know that is regular season. This is playoffs, but that is a very drastic move there from their highest scoring one, 257. Now you're asking for 219 in a game. I'm not touching the total here. I do agree with the move up, though.
Let's take a quick break. When we get back, to the ice we go. Game 1 in Dallas, game 2 in New York. We break them down next. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
From the South Point Studio, the perfect blend of sports,
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
comedy,
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
I am beautiful, and a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah. Pittsburgh.
Join Ryan McCormick
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Oreo.
and host Frank Nicotero.
But I look at the clock, I go,
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back in, Sports by the Book. 2 on a 2 shot. I think that's what we'll call it from now on. 2 on a 2 shot here at the South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside. Let's go to the ice. Game 2. We'll start with game 2 before game 1 because that makes sense. The Rangers hosting the Canes. Alex, what did you take from game one? Where the high-scoring first period, Zibanejad with 2 in the first 12 minutes of the game for the Rangers. They win 4-3. What do you take from that game one?
I mean, I expected this to be a tight series. Both are very good teams. The Canes definitely need to make some improvements here. They were the best special teams of any hockey team going into the playoffs, the best power kill, second best power play, and now they've kind of flipped the switch and they let the Rangers score 2 power play goals, which is very uncharacteristic of them. They have to slow Zibanejad. They have to slow him down for sure. He has been hot and good all playoffs, so that'll be a big point of emphasis for them tonight. But I like their comeback in that third period. They played till the very end, and that leads me to think that they have a shot to win tonight's game.
So it's $1.20 on Carolina on the road again. Favored in game one, favored in game two. Total's 5.5. Heavy juice under, minus 30 on that, minus 130 that is. So if you're new to betting, if you like that game under tonight, $130 bet to win 100. Returns $230 if the game lands under 5.5. The series price is what's more intriguing to me than tonight. You can still get the team that won the President's Trophy up 1-0 with home ice, and you only have to lay minus 125. I'm already in a plus money. I'm probably going to be in again at this number. They're better. The Rangers are the better hockey team. And I know the numbers don't say that. I know you don't agree with me on that. But with what we've seen so far this postseason, first off, Shesterkin looks significantly better than he did for the bulk of the regular season. That is a big deal. Because you and I both know, he was all over the place during the regular season. He was average for a good chunk of the season. If you get high-end Shesterkin, that's bad news for everybody else. That's great news for the Rangers. And I still have questions about Carolina's goaltending. I still do, after all these years. They're loaded on offense. I get it. They carried that offense, carried them through a pretty tough 5-game series, all things considered. The 4-1 series win was not indicative to how close that series was with the Islanders. But I have home ice. I have a 1-0 lead. I have the better goaltender, and I think I have the better team. So at minus 125, I still think this is where I thought the price probably should have been pre-series, a little closer, where the Rangers should have been minus 120, minus 115. All right, fine, if you wanted to make it a flip. I thought it was crazy the Rangers came an underdog in this series. And now I'm up 1-0 and I'm only laying minus 125. There's even, there's minus 122 is the best number out there. I think that's a darn good price on the Rangers. I would consider laying it, which guess that means I like the Rangers tonight then too, Alex, at even money in game two if I like them on the series price at this number.
I would guess so. I was going to say you might want to wait because the Canes can steal a game here in New York, and then again. You'll get more plus money there. But I mean, this Canes team, you just mentioned it. Their offense has carried them. I mean, they were plus 63 goal differential going into the playoffs. They have 5 fewer wins than the Rangers, and they had that was 10 goal difference there between the two. So they have not just beat teams, they blew teams out throughout the regular season, and that is why they are priced so high. Anderson does make me a little bit nervous. He's played about 20 games this season, so you would think he'd be really fresh here, but maybe he needed a little bit more time to get back in there. I think they'll be okay. I do think they will still win this series. I think it will go to 7, but I still like the Canes.
7-game series would not shock. These teams are that good. They still are. And again, I'm not saying Carolina is all this mediocre team. No, the Canes are the second best team in the NHL to me. These are the 2 best teams in the NHL. I just think the Rangers are the best team in the league. And then the other series we'll get to in about 2 minutes here. Those might be teams 3 and 4 at this rate with the way everything's broken down.
And the interesting thing is these 2 teams have both been on their way here for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, the Canes lost to Florida in the Eastern Conference Championship last year, so they have been right there. And so have the Rangers. The Rangers were just played for the Stanley Cup, 2 years ago? So both of these teams have been very good throughout the last few years. I will say, though, I am kind of intrigued. I want to see what Boston's number is to win the Eastern Conference now, because if Swayman keeps playing like this, I mean, he is the hottest goalie in the league right now, only allowed 1 to that Florida Panthers team that is all offense. So I am curious to see what we have on them as well.
Want to go to the other game tonight?
Yep.
This is going to be a doozy. This is going to be an amazing series between, even though I don't think they're the best team because they're not the most complete, but Colorado to me is still the most talented. When you take out the goaltender, that will play a role in this series. Really do think so. The Avs steamroll Winnipeg out. Dallas, epic series against VGK. 7 games. 2-1 is enough in Game 7 on Sunday. Peter DeBoer now 8-0 in Game 7s, which is miraculous to have that good of a record in a winner-take-all scenario. Dallas is minus 120 tonight, Alex. Total 6.5, even on Colorado on the take-back. The series prices has Dallas as a minus 120 favorite. There is some minus 115s. Even the best number, plus 105 actually is the best number you can get on Colorado because one book has this at minus 125 on Dallas. Alex, the winner of this series is going to win the West because I still don't trust Edmonton. Vancouver, I'm still amazed they found a way to win that series against Nashville, even though this could be a 7-game battle. And it could take a lot out of these teams. I still think these two teams are a clip above whoever comes out of the Pacific Pod. For tonight, I like the under at 6.5. I know that Colorado's all those high-scoring affairs. Georgiev is a little bit of a mess at times. We know how potent Colorado's offense is, just annihilating Hellebuck that whole series. But this does kind of feel like in Dallas's home building, they'll be able to grind it. They'll be able to slow it down. I like under 6.5. That'd be the only way I look to go in Game 1.
I am on an island all by myself because I have heard a few people say, find that 6.5 and go under. But I am.
You like over?
I am over. No. I'm on over 6. Worst case scenario, I feel like we'll push there. But between these two teams, it's too hard to bet an under. I mean, I know what you're saying. The Stars, Ottinger, he's been playing much better, and he's kind of really found his groove there. But I don't think the Stars are going to get to dictate the pace in this one. I think the Avs are going to continue what they have been on. They've averaged 5.6 goals per game against the Jets, against one of the best goalies in the regular season in Hellebuck. So they also gave up an average of 3 goals. So I think we'll see it from both sides here. And 7 goals isn't a whole lot to ask for between these two teams.
I just will ask you this on this series, since you just said you think Colorado will dictate the pace. That mean you like the Avs to win this series then?
I think I had the Avs underrated going into the playoffs. Okay. I have made the adjustment. They are playing really good hockey right now, especially their 5-on-5. So it's a coin flip for a reason. I think it's going to go the distance, but which actually leads me now to liking Edmonton to potentially winning the West, because I think these two might beat each other up and Edmonton might have an easier route there. Of course, with Colorado and Edmonton, though, it is the goaltending. And we know that the Stars have the best goaltender left in the Western Conference.
Well, especially with the unknown factor of who's playing for Vancouver.
He is still skating. He is still practicing.
So I mean, it could be any of the three at this point in Vancouver. So who knows? I think if Edmonton can't beat this version of the Canucks, what are we doing here if you're Edmonton? And that's, again, Vancouver's a good team, but Edmonton should win that series. But look, I don't mind the angle. If you think Dallas wins this series in 7 after needing 7 to take VGK out, which was not a normal 1-8, how much is left in the tank against an Edmonton team that is, again, I think they're slightly below Colorado, even though their high-end talent is as good or better than anyone. I like Colorado's depth more than I like Edmonton's depth. So, yeah, could we see Edmonton find a way to finally make this Cup final because Dallas has nothing left in the tank after 2 long series? Yeah, it's possible. It's also possible that Colorado wins the series and then Colorado, with home ice, beats Edmonton in 6 or 7 games. So, fascinating all the way through, regardless of what it is here on the ice. You and I are oppo on this game. I like under 6.5. Alex is over 6 on this one. All right. before we get out of here today, baseball, Alex White. So I just want to start with the Yankees and the Stros. We talked about it earlier in the show. The Yankees going one way, currently second place in the AL East, top wild card in the American League, only Baltimore better than them in the East. And then the Astros, who were tied for last in the AL West. And they send old reliable Justin Verlander to the mound tonight on the road at Yankee Stadium, plus 108. At least Gil goes for New York, minus 118. Alex, this total has been bet through the roof here. And that's in part because of what the weather pattern's supposed to be. We're going to have a wind blowing out to right field at Yankee Stadium, which, short porch to begin with.
Right.
Add the wind. Ball going to be flying there in the Bronx. This went from 7.5 on the overnight to 8.5. Now juiced to the over here. But you do have a lean, at least to a side in this game.
Yeah, hopefully the weather doesn't affect that. But I do like the Astros as a small dog here at plus 108. Verlander has been pitching well. And the thing I wanted to bring up about Houston is they have the fourth most hits in the MLB right now with 100. No, that's not the right number. They have the fourth most hits, but they only have 151 runs. That is 15th in the league. So they just haven't been able to string any of these hits together. I do think that we'll see them progress here very shortly. And they also have the fewest strikeouts of any team in the MLB. So the Astros, they have all the pieces like they always have. They just aren't putting them together. And I'm going to take a shot today with Verlander on the mound. Going to the Yankees, kind of a little bit of regression for New York and getting some plus money with Houston.
The Astros, real quick, who I thought preseason, I picked them to win the American League. They are 12-22. They are dreadful away from home, 5-10. They're not good at home. They're 7-12. It has been a sharp regression. Now, look, we have seen this with other teams that have gone on to big-time success in baseball seasons. The Nationals were 12 games under 500 when they won the World Series in 2019 on June 10th. The Dodgers, at times during this run, have gotten off the brutal starts, including one in the late 2010s, where they were 15 games under 500 in May and ended up winning the division by 5 games. So can the Astros come back, win the division, make the playoffs? Yes, of course they can. The American League West has at least made it not an impossibility for them to come back. They're 7 games behind Texas entering the day, even though it seems the Rangers are starting to play better baseball with 3 straight wins. But this is jarring, this quick regression for Houston, especially if it does not turn around quickly. They're only a half game ahead of the Angels, who are an abject mess, especially now with Mike Trout on the shelf for an extended period of time. All right, Alex, what other baseball game are you looking at here tonight in the way of betting?
Well, I do like an over, which your trend to start off the show kind of scares me. But
It shouldn't.
Blue Jays, Phillies over 8 for me in this one. I mean, the Phillies have been so hot and they've been great at home. So if you want to play them in this one, I don't hate that either, or even the first 5 with them. But last 7 games, they've averaged 6.4 runs per game. They are 5-1-1 to the over, and they've allowed an average of 4 runs. So I know Toronto has struggled a little bit, but I think 8 is a great number here to go over.
The Blue Jays have had a weird start to the year. They're 3 games under. Their offense has been average, very average. But the Phillies are really good. I think this is flying a little bit under the radar because the Dodgers are starting to play well. The Dodgers, Ohtani hit one about 9 miles last night. They swept the Braves over the weekend. Phillies are sitting there 25-11.
Yep.
2 or 3 games clear of Atlanta right now. I don't think anyone, even in the best of expectations for the Phillies, thought that this could be, hey, they could steal the division from Atlanta. It's in play. Now, granted, it's hard to play 700 baseball all year. Nearly impossible, as we know. But look, this thing extends. If Phillies keep playing well, this thing extends out to 5, 6, 7. Yes, I know Atlanta just 2 years ago made up an 11-game lead in 2 months. But
they don't have Strider this year.
Hey, that is a big difference.
Yep.
And I don't think they're pitching. I don't think Atlanta's pitching is built in the way that they needed it to be built. Now, of course, this probably means that if the Braves didn't win the division and got in the wild card series, they probably make the World Series because of how screwy baseball is at this point. But this is a very good Philadelphia team, and they are as good as anyone At least at the moment, they're as good as anyone. It might be better than everyone, except for the Dodgers at the moment. The only thing I am looking at tonight, Alex White, is I am looking at the over in the Pittsburgh and Angel game. It is a dangerous game with the way that the Angels have been hitting, or lack thereof, of late. But there are two starting pitchers I want to go against. Priester, who has had struggles in his early career for Pittsburgh, and Sandoval, who has been all over the map so far this year for the Angels. At 8 and an even, I think that's okay to go over that. Now, again, there is some wind concerns here, but not enough to get me off of this. I do like over 8. That's the only thing I'm looking at in baseball.
What is up with all this wind going on?
Well, I
around
mean,
the country and the
everyone's
weather?
just getting the wind that we got over the weekend
That's
here,
right.
where palm trees, all the sides of the trees came off, basically.
Yesterday was beautiful, but of course the
Unbelievable
Sunday
yesterday.
game out at the Las Vegas ballpark, not so nice.
Well, you know what? Again, you can just blame Nicotero. Just blame Frank. What, you had one rain out in the history of the ballpark, and then since he's been here, you have 3?
We'll see. Him and I are both actually working next Tuesday. We'll see if we actually get to work that game. But it is scheduled as of now. So come join us out at the Las Vegas ballpark.
Do that, and hopefully Frank doesn't bring the rain again. We hope Frank brings the thunder, though, at noon here today. See what I did there, Ryan McCormick? Punchlines coming your way at noon. Frank Nicotero, Ryan McCormick. Ryan, who's on the show today? Joe Bardnick on the show today. All right. Very good. Hockey talk with Frank. Plenty of baseball as well. And debauchery, as always, on Punchlines coming at noon. Of course, we're back tomorrow at 9 in the morning. Also, Race Day to Las Vegas after a fun weekend where, Alex, I'm never going to win the Derby again. Seriously, I'm never going to do it. I was, of course, on Sierra Leone, loses in the second closest Derby in the history of the Kentucky Derby. They've only run it 150 times now. Mystic Dan, of course, winning over the weekend. But Ralph will be back tomorrow, getting you ready for Wednesday's card across the country in horse racing. Alex, good work as always. Go ahead.
I do feel for you because you did have the number 2 horse, but I really feel for Sean because he said it all week. He had number 2 and he had 11, Forever Young. And who
They were
was
2 and 3.
Mystic Dan? Yep, right there with those two. So
Yeah, the retrospect mistake I made is I considered with those exotics throwing Mystic Dan in, didn't make it. It was 2, 7, 12, and 11 were the horses I ended up using. Not good enough. Not good enough on that.
And mine, I picked 18 right by Fierceness, right? And he actually did good, probably 6th or 7th. But now I'm like, oh, I picked the wrong favorite there. I should have went Sierra Leone, Mystic Dan, right out there. But we know coming out of the early ones. I know. It was a great race, though. It was a great race, and it was a great week building up to it. So thank you, Ralph, for jumping on all of our shows and the special, of course.
All right. We will be back tomorrow, 9 in the morning. Danny Burke, usual Wednesday spot with us. And, of course, we get you ready for the Knicks and the Pacers tomorrow night. I don't know why Minnesota and Denver are waiting till Friday to play game 3, but nothing there. And then plenty of hockey as well and baseball on a Wednesday edition tomorrow. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. We'll see you then.